Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to Bright Ideas. I am here today with Matthew Porter. Thank you, Matthew, for being here.
My pleasure. There's a great quote I like, and I'm going to murder it. But basically, if you want to find out what you're about, take action. Action will define and delineate you. As an example, back in 2010, I started my website, HeyPorter.com. And I sat down like a rational, thoughtful person should, and goes, "What should this be about? What should I?" And then I finally landed on, I don't know. I'm going to start writing a bunch of stuff. And once I got a bunch of it, I'm going to put it in a pile and I'm going to say, what are the common elements here?
Right.
That's the way to do it, versus you could stay on the starting line and go, well, what should I do? What am I about? What's my common? Sometimes you've got to kind of just jump into the fray and you'll figure it out as you go along in process. I have written a bunch of feature scripts. And if there's one piece of advice to give somebody screenwriting or starting anything, is like, you're going to suck at the beginning for anything. Riding a bike, nobody's a virtuoso. And you should give yourself permission to make those early mistakes, make them quick and make them as painless as possible. But my gosh, go make them.
Right.
I always refer to it as the first pancake. You ever pour the first pancake and you're like, ooh. And like,
yeah.
A lot of times when I'm starting something and it doesn't work out, you're like, oh, first pancake. You're like, it's okay. You're not a bad person. You are a person who's bold enough to try something now.
While you're not great at this, maybe in hindsight you'll be a better editor when it comes time to fix that first pancake.
Absolutely. I have a friend who is a working screenwriter, and she just quoted, and other people have said this, but she's somebody who's qualified to say this. She is writing is rewriting. And that's exactly what you're saying. Now, your thing might be writing, it might be whatever. The point is, you've got to get a first version in order to improve something. The only way something can improve is if you never had the courage to make the first version and in the first place. Just because somebody is not a boss or a manager over somebody does not mean they can't be a leader. Secondary to that, I would say, kind of getting what you're kind of touching on, is nobody's born a leader, meaning leaders can have all different personality styles. And of course, maybe some of the ones that immediately leap to mind are very charismatic, outgoing, gregarious, big personalities. Yes, absolutely. Those tend to, in our society, jive well with leadership out front positions. But just because somebody is an introvert or somebody who's shy does not mean they can't be a leader, which goes to the question then what is a leader? What is a leader? Somebody is who they are, or is it what they do? And I think it's a matter of what you do. So literally, you could be low man on the totem pole, but you can think and act like an owner, and that in itself makes you a leader. Yeah, I think we've all seen situations, experienced situations where somebody is in a leadership position, and in an org chart, they're a leader, but they don't have the attendant skills that are required for that, as far as listening, leading, serving those. They are leaning on the authority and power that position has, but they're not bringing to bear what a leader actually does. Conversely, you've got people who are young or new or inexperienced, but my gosh, they show up, they hustle, they're prepared, and that is the beginnings of leadership, even though they're way down here in the scheme of things. I mean, if you want to be a leader and you've never tried that before, I think it's really as easy as being prepared, being informed, and showing up with a point of view. If you never did it before, start there and see where that takes you. And sometimes, you make a very good point, sometimes when you step into the leadership, maybe culturally, you kind of discover, I don't think this is a fit. The thing is, if you need to be somewhere else, the best thing that could happen is for you and others go, I don't think I'm a fit here. I don't think so either. I need to go find where I'm valued and
right.
work.
There's nothing wrong with developing your whatever you can out of where you are as you're looking to make a move, or maybe looking inwardly and saying, this isn't for me, but I love it here. Otherwise, maybe I am the one who needs to edit my perspective or my point of view.
That's I love what you just said there, and I think that gets to humility, which is before I get all self-righteous and all tweety. Let me check myself. Let me
Right.
check myself before I wreck myself. That's probably taught in business schools, right?
I think it's a class.
Yeah, that's a class. But yeah, exactly. Do I need to shift my tack or something or other? Here's another thought. If somebody is in a position that you're like, this is not where I fit. Weird story. It'll circle back shortly. Whenever I travel, and for certain years, it's been a ton of travel for video production and directing and everything. The first thing I ever do when I get into a hotel, sounds goofy. I get the shampoo and the conditioner and the little. I'm not stealing anything, but I bought the room. I want to get everything I can while I'm here. And I think it can be that way in a business, even if you're in a position that's not fitting. You're like, okay, long term, 6 months, 12 months, I don't see myself here. Okay, great. You're actively involved in that process, and that's going to unfold when it unfolds. In the meantime, what can I gather up? What can I learn while I'm here? It's not wasted time if you make it not wasted time.
Right.
What skill can I develop? The only way we learn is by bumping up against stuff that you're like, I don't like, that's uncomfortable.
Right.
So you have some hidden opportunities, even in that position that's not your dream job. So what can you gather up while you're still there? Nobody knows everything. And if I was ever the smartest one in the room, and I don't think I've ever been the smartest one in the room, I would be worried. I mean, the best thing a leader can do is surround themselves with people who are really great at what they do. And if you perceive that as a threat, you need to maybe pause and go, why? Why do I feel like that's a threat? Think it through. You're not a bad person, but you are really limiting yourself, because business moves too fast and things change too quickly for anyone to think that they could be the master of all different things, because this skill set has a whole bunch of different skill sets adjacent to that, and on and on and on. And knowledge is great, but knowing how to capitalize and draw out the best from people really is the secret, I believe, to unlocking success. There's this great quote by Carly Fiorina that I love. She says, the highest calling of leadership is to unlock the potential of others. And I guarantee if you're in a business and the leader is the guy who says, I know everything, everyone around him has also got to have that kind of bulletproof invulnerability that they put forward. And when you create an environment where nobody can be wrong or nobody can make a mistake, you have cut off the possibility of learning and growth entirely. Yeah. And that organization ain't going anywhere.
We're all just trying to do the best we can do, right? And I think that humanizing of leadership in general, it really does more than we think it does.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of enthusiasm and kind of voracious thing, I just think it needs to be redirected. It's not like, I got this back up, everybody. It's, hey, we got this. And maybe I don't even know exactly how, but I know you and you and you and you and what you guys bring to the table. We're going to figure it out, and we will get this thing done, and we will win. Now, that's still that enthusiasm. But now it's making those around you also the heroes and inviting them into the process. And, I'm a real big believer in servant leadership. And I think the biggest thing a leader can do is provide vision. And when you take that approach, I mean, again, that kind of zeal, that kind of zest for tackling, I think it's super good. But I mean, I really do think it has to be shining the light on those around you, and less about you and more about what you are confident you can accomplish as a team. There's a picture that somebody has of being a leader, And, I know for me, for like, if I'm writing something or directing something, I look at the people I really love who are really good, and I look at mine as different. Now, on a certain level, be like, hey, whatever you're making does need to be better. It does need to strive for excellence. But there's different types of excellence. I mean, Picasso doesn't look like anything like Rembrandt, doesn't look like anything like Jackson Pollock, or even a better, maybe more pertinent way. Who's a great singer? Bob Dylan is considered by a lot of folks to be a great singer. So is Sinatra. So is Elvis. These are wildly different styles.
Right.
You can be good and it look and sound very, very different. So just because you look at a fill in the blank, the biggest, most gregarious leader that you're like, oh, I'm not like that. That's okay. That's the Elvis leader. You might be, the Leonard Cohen leader. We need all types. The truest test of leadership is to lead among peers. Leadership starts wherever you are. So let's say you're in school, you're in high school, and you're like, hey, a group of 5 people. You need a leader. Nobody's like the boss in the group, but somebody needs to push forward and draw out the best from everybody. I think it's like, if you're in a car full of people, does it mean only the driver knows how to drive?
True.
In a perfect world, if you're leading a team, each one of those people is a capable leader. Now, maybe they're not going to, at that given moment, be at the front of the pack, but they, at the very least, know what it's like to be in the leader's position and can be empathetic towards that and be collaborative. I think leadership has to start where you are, and the mentality has to be not, I want to be in charge, not, I want to know what it feels like to have power. I think great leadership starts with, I think I can serve this group of people by stepping into this role. Follow that. I don't think you're going to go wrong. Right. And in those moments, you know where your strengths and your weaknesses lie. And when it comes to planning the food, you're not like, oh, I don't feel slighted because, I wasn't picked to be the picnic leader. You're like, good. You know what? Billy, you're great. Don't forget the pimento cheese. But yes, you rock that. I'm going to support you. I'll lead on this other stuff. When you take your ego out of the thing, everything gets so much better. The guy I work with right now, work for Steve Brown, very accomplished author and speaker. His mentor was a success guru named Fred Smith. He would consult with all these major companies. Actually, here, there's Breakfast with Fred, worth checking out. Okay.
All right.
So, not a paid endorsement. And he once asked him, how do you go into these businesses and kind of find out what's wrong and how to help streamline and fix these problems? And it's paraphrasing, it was, I look for the ego. I look for where the ego is operating, and I follow that, and I find where the problems are all stemming from. So let's just freaking circle around that. Let's not make that a problem to fix. Let's just not think less of ourselves, but think of ourselves less.
So let's play that out, right? I'm a kid. Not a kid. I'm a entry level. I'm a middle management. I've been in my industry 5 years. I'm watching this video and Matthew, that sounds great. Sure. Except the ego is coming from my boss's boss, and I hate him and my boss hates him. And I'm a leader and my boss is a leader, but now neither of us can lead because this one's ego. How do we navigate that?
It's a great question. And for me, it is not a hypothetical situation. I have been in a position in an organization where I am aggressively, is not too strong a word, saying, look at this idea. I think we should go here. But at the same time, if there's a better idea, let's talk about it. Let's kick holes in this. Not from an ego kind of view, but certainly really straining on the reins of like, guys, if my plan towards this destination isn't right, that's cool, but we got to go to this destination. Okay. And I backed into butting heads with my direct report did not mean to do that. Lack of experience in reading the room, working remotely, just kind of not realizing how my communication is landing. Well intended as it was, what matters is where it lands with somebody else.
Sure.
So if you're communicating something and it's not working, hey, the onus is on the communicator. So I was not kind of calibrating that correctly. And in the end, I mean, it really got to a point of stopping just short of, let's do this or please fire me, because I believe in it that much. It worked out really well, but I will say there was an interim of a couple years that were a year and a half, let's say, really rough. A lot of wear and tear on me personally. And I think I brought that a lot on myself in just how I was communicating. By all means, like I said, vision is important, but not just your vision, their vision as well.
Right.
There's just to champion your own stuff, climb your own mountain and shout. That's not the art. The art lies in seeing what the company or the boss's vision are, where you see we need to go, trying to find some of that overlap, trying to find a way where you create the win-win. When we talked previously, I talked about the great negotiating book, classic book from the early 80s called Getting to Yes. And the pivotal parable that they shared was the story of two sisters arguing over an orange. Like, who argues over an orange,
right.
except in a parable. And so what's the most equitable outcome? Obviously, it's to cut the orange in half and each walks away with half. It couldn't get any more fair than that. But the point is, actually, one of the sisters wanted the outside skin to make candy. The other wanted the inside to eat. So literally, had they gone beyond the positional fighting to get to the underlying interests, each one of them could walk away with 100% of what they wanted. I think a lot of times we default and sell ourselves short by just digging in our heels on a particular position, when the real work lies in putting your ego aside, trying to understand before being understood, to steal from 7 Habits. Understand what they're going for and where they are and what their needs are, and not at the exclusion of yours, but try to find the alignment however possible in a way that's not creating unnecessary friction. And in the end, all of that said, you may get to a point where you're like, this does not seem to be working. And that's okay. How many success stories start with somebody getting fired or quitting from a place that was not? It's okay. It's not easy, but I don't have to tell you that, to get to where you want to go, it ain't going to be easy no matter what. Yeah. And that's the real trick, is to not only to clearly communicate what you want and what you need and what your idea is, but to frame it in a way that is specific to that person. And you being clear in your own mind is great. That's half of it, but that's certainly not the whole picture. I could be the most eloquent person in the world, and if I talk to somebody who only speaks Portuguese, I failed.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how smart I think I am. I've got to code my message in a way that is going to land with them. That's what directing is. When you direct actors, sometimes they need deep motivation and what does this person think right now, and what is this, and get really inside. There's times where you just like, I need you to step here and say it a little bit more, loudly and angrily here. Got it. That's leadership. That's directing, is starting with understanding, how does this person communicate? Again, the onus of being understood is always on the communicator. So how do I speak to where this person is, and how do I get what I need from them without them changing who they are being
Mm,
a requisite. That's huge. And I'll tell you, I'll be completely honest. That's something I've learned a lot more about in the last like year and year and a half
yeah.
of this person is this way. Okay. They're 40 years old. I'm not going to change who they are,
Right.
but I still need them to do something. So how do I incentivize, motivate, communicate what I need them to do in a way that is not predicated on them changing their personality overnight? We will work on becoming more clear communicators and empathetic communicators the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, what could kind of ease that? And I think you touched on it earlier, that idea of do unto others as you would have done unto you. What we would all say, we need to show grace and patience to others. It's the grease in the machinery.
Mm,
It's not just being nice, it is tactical. I promise that being empathetic is a tactical quality. But also at the same time, hey, be patient and show yourself some grace as well, because you're learning, you're
yeah.
refining your game. Um, and if that kind of starts getting reciprocated, well, that's a fantastic ecosystem for people to get better and communicate well. Communication is key. We've heard that enough times where you're like, yeah, right. You're like, what else? You're like, let's just circle back to that
Right.
and let's just not breeze past that, because I think if we drill into that, it actually is going to unlock a lot for us. And I continue to go back to the idea of um, mastering people skills, what would be considered, I guess, soft skills. And I don't know if there's baggage attached to that or not. That really is the skills that will open all the doors for you. The technical stuff is stuff that you can learn over the weekend or
Right.
jump online and learn that. And guess what? Next week it's going to change. So you're going to have to learn it again, which is fine. You stay agile,
Right.
but that people skills, developing empathy, learning to be direct and assertive without being abrasive or abusive, that that part where it enters an art form, that's going to carry you through every job you ever have, through every relationship you ever have.
Hmm.
That's where to invest your time and heart and effort. I worked leading the digital division of an agency that at some point had something like worldwide, like 650 people. And like in one building, it's probably 400 of them. It's like, you know what? I'm not going to go out for a beer after work with every single one of these people. In fact, if I were to look, and I never did, I'd probably find somebody that our personalities don't.
Right.
It's okay.
Right.
But in that scenario, if that's somebody I have to regularly interact with, well, then you've got a little project to figure out. How
Right.
am I going to relate and interact with this person that gets things done, does not create acrimony or tension, but also I don't feel compelled to become, best friends with this person. There's, like you said, there's a middle ground where functionally we have to communicate.
Right.
Okay, how do we do that? And I think when you commit yourself to being a communication learner, you certainly set the table for that to happen. So probably my most favorite point of communication moment I've ever had. We were shooting a documentary in Russia, and you won't find this surprising. I don't speak Russian. I don't speak any other languages other than English. But in the time that we were there, I tried to pick up more phrases, and and so this hotel where we were staying before we ever headed out on a shoot, there's kind of like this guard there that you pass by, and this is generalizing. They're not an emotive people. It's kind of stoic, kind of dialed in. That's okay. It's a cultural thing. There's no judgment
Sure.
there whatsoever. But whenever I would go by, I would try out I say, Меня зовут, как вас зовут? I'm sorry, Меня зовут Matthew, как вас зовут? My name is Matthew. What is your name? Or, whatever. Whatever greeting would be appropriate. I'm sure I murdered the language. I'm sure it was not stellar. But one of the last days we were there, we were on our way out, and he goes, "Hey," and gets my attention somehow. He doesn't speak English. Okay, I don't speak Russian. He reaches under this desk and hands me an orange, and I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Hmm. Like for me?" Yeah. I'm like, "Spasibo." Thank you. It was amazing. I mean, I did never learn Russian. We never had a real exchange. He didn't
Right.
learn like basic English, and I learned basic Russian, and we had some exchange. And yet the communication was there, wasn't it? Because it was not in what I was saying. It was in the effort. It was in the
Right.
nonverbal. I'm basically saying in a universal way, thanks for being here. We're really happy to be here. Thank you for your hospitality. Thanks for watching over us, keeping us safe. I think in my backwards, clumsy American way, all of that was still communicated. And he
Yeah.
gave me the orange, and I could say thank you in Russian. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that worked. I can't, I can't believe it. It was an amazing feeling. And I think if two cultures could be bridged, not through excellence, eloquence, just in effort and intention, I think the same thing could happen between different personality types.
Um, what are you working on? What should people contact you for? I mean, are you casting? Are you looking to do X, Y, or Z? Should people contact you at all? And if yes, why? Get off my lawn.
Sure. And get off my lawn. So yeah, so two websites. The kind of stuff we're talking about here is very much what we talk about at HeyPorter.com. We talk about creative leadership, productivity, marketing, and decoding success. This is just where like, hey, this is something I learned, or this is something I heard from somebody else. Here's this. So that's a cool little point of being able to interact with people at HeyPorter.com. And then marketing agency is HeyPorter.media. And, I've worked with, I've had leadership positions in small agencies of like 40 to 50 people, 6 to 700 people. I like the approach we're taking here, which is very small, very agile, can put together the team that's specific to a client's needs. And we've been doing some cool stuff with some startup companies and different organizations. And if anybody needs that kind of assistance, we're here to serve you.